Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Antioch, Illinois in the US. I am using a stamp set from the big annual catalog and some dies that are a celebration item that you can earn as a free gift with purchase. So I'm going to turn my camera around right away so that we can get started. So here is the card I made today, and I will walk you through the steps of how to make it yourself. It uses the Shaded Summer Stamp Set. Here it is, the Shaded Summer Stamp Set. So it's a cling or rubber stamp set. And it has some beautiful sentiments, and I love the fonts, but I love the sentiments too. And then it's using a celebration item that you can earn as a free gift with a $100 purchase in the US, the Summer Shadows dies. And I will show you what they look like up close and personal. And I always cut out my dies, and so I can see what I have. They layer, the two leaf stamps, the larger ones layer, and there are two different size flowers that do the same thing, plus a smaller flower and a smaller leaf. And then I also have there are also two dies in the set that cut out images from the stamp set. So that is what you would get if you earn that as your free item. And I also am using today this fabulous designer series paper, this pattern party 12 by 12 paper. And this is a paper pack. It's very large. It's got 48 sheets. And this is a host only set. So you can only earn this if you are the host of a workshop. And I love it. It's got so many different colors and patterns, and they're black and white. So neutral on one side, but then lots of different colors and patterns on the other side. I also am using the Painted Texture 3D Embossing Folder. This is probably my most favorite embossing folder in a long time, not just in the catalog. And last but not least, the Stitched Greenery die, which I've been dying to use. This was my first time, and I'll show you how that works. It's a die, but it doesn't cut around the edges. It just gives the cutout impression of the leaves, the stitched leaves, and it's gorgeous. All right, so let's put the card aside and get started. I'm starting this time with a thick Whisper White card base for a normal A2 card. And I thought I would use thick because there's a lot on the front. I wanted to make sure the inside or the back side would hold up, so we're using thick Whisper White. I cut out the Stitched Greenery die. And it's larger than this, so I cut it down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, the same size as my card front, or for an A4 card, 10.5 centimeters by 14.9. And I'm going to put that on with my multi-purpose liquid glue. So that's the easiest way when you have something that covers the whole card front. It's tough to position, and the glue gives you time to move it around if you need to. Or it can be tough to position. I have used my Stampin' Seal, but I prefer my multi-purpose liquid glue for this. So there's layer number 1. For the second layer, I have, and this is Bermuda Bay, if I didn't say that before. Now I have a layer in Daffodil Delight that I have run through the Painted Textures 3D Embossing Folder. And this measures 3 1/4 inches by 4 1/4 inches. Or for an A4, I would recommend 7.5 by 10.9 centimeters. And that we're just going to put on with some Stampin' Seal. A lot of people do use multi-purpose liquid glue for this textured embossing folder because they worry that it might not adhere completely. And I think I'm going to move it down just a little bit. Maybe center it this time at the top. But I find that the Stampin' Seal works great. And then I have cut a piece of that gorgeous designer series paper. It is 2 3/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches, or 7 centimeters by 9.5 centimeters. And we're going to layer that also. Oh, actually, you know what? Before we do that, let me stop right now. I'm going to take my Flirty Flamingo metallic ribbon, and we're going to put a strip across the front, and I'm going to move it a little higher than I did, I think. Just a little higher than I did on my original, because I think it'll make the placement of the label a little easier. I'm grabbing my glue dots, and we're just going to put one around that end and then snip it and put another one on the other side and turn it to the back. And now we can finish adhering it. And one tip that I always do when I have ribbon is lay my seal down on each end, because I think that helps hold it a little bit better. And we'll move this up just a little bit. That's a hair off there, I think. Yeah, I think we'll move it this way. Well, that's about the same. Move it up just a little bit and over. All right, so our card front's coming together, and now we're going to do some stamping. We are going to stamp Some Friendships Are Just Meant to Be, again from the set, and we're going to stamp in Flirty Flamingo, because then we're going to punch that out with the oval punch. I think I'm going to use this end. And it doesn't matter if it's crooked, we're going to line our punch up with it, but I did have to cut off an edge because it was too long to fit in the punch, so that's why I'm doing it the other way and a little bit closer to the bottom, so keep that in mind. And while we have that Flirty Flamingo ink, we're going to stamp Love You Friend on the inside. And then we've got a scrap of basic white. This one is about 3 1/4 inches by 4 1/2 or 8.3 centimeters by 11.4. And it is just a scrap. I wanted just to make sure it was larger than I needed. And I've got my Smoky Slate ink pad, which I'm going to turn upside down and use this way because the stamp's a little bigger. Make sure I've got good coverage. And I'm just going to stamp it toward the top, because we are going to color it and then cut it out. And I most likely will also stamp this on the front corner of the envelope and the inside of the card. In fact, I can stamp the inside of the card now before I put it away. And I think we'll put it over on the left since it's large. And then I'm bringing in my Stampin' Write markers because that's what I use to color it in. So I'm just going to show you which colors I used and where, but I did the little flower centers in Daffodil Delight. And the reason I used the Smoky Slate instead of the Memento Black is that I liked the look that I got. It provides some shading of the colors without being too dark, because I'm using my markers. I'm not using my blends where you can shade because there are two different, light and dark shades. So as you can see, just by using, this is Flirty Flamingo for the flowers. It's the same color that's in the stripe. And I'm coloring completely even over the lines around the edge rather than going inside the lines, because I think it helps to give that shading. And so I've done all the flowers in Flirty Flamingo with the centers in Daffodil Delight, Pacific Point, and I used the sharp or writing end for this little flower here. And then I used Bermuda Bay for the leaves and the stems. And so the same thing, just color them in all the way to the edge, because I think it helps provide nice shading. And I have already colored one and cut it out with the die so that it looks like this. And I decided I wanted to pop this up with dimensionals. And then I'm still going to slide it behind the ribbon, but the dimensionals, I really wanted to give it some depth, so that's why I did that. And now I'm going to bring in my double oval punch, and we're going to punch out that sentiment. And it just fits inside. I thought I was going to have to use the larger one, and I saw that it just fit. So if you're very careful, you can fit it perfectly in that oval. And then I've got a scrap of Daffodil Delight to punch the larger one. And I'm just layering them with my Stampin' Seal. And then putting that on the card. With my Stampin' Seal again. And then last but not least, I'm going to bring back that pretty Flirty Flamingo ribbon and just tie a bow. I find it easier to do it this way than to try to tie the card or tie the bow around the card. It's easier to just do it and then adhere it. And so it gives you the same look. I'm going to redo that though. My loop was a little bit crooked there. Yeah, that looks better. And then I'm going to grab my snips and pretty up the end and the other end. And we're going to just adhere that with some glue dots. Oh yeah, I like that better. A little bit higher over the sentiment and centered more so it looks like it's around the flower bouquet, although that one actually looks pretty good too. And then last but not least, a little bling. I'm using the Champagne Rhinestone Basic Jewels and the putty end of my Take Your Pick tool. So I think this time I'm going to put a very small one down on the tag, and we'll use a medium one up here and a small one again up here, just for a little added bling, just to kind of finish it off. For me, it's not finished until we have the bling. So there's our card for today. Like I said, the only thing I'm going to do is go back and color this in the same way that I colored in the one on the front, and I'll do the same thing for the envelope. So I hope you like it. Remember, if you want to place an order during celebration, just let me know. Celebration goes from now through the end of September. So let me know, like I said, if you'd like to place an order. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.